Disclaimer: if you're watching this, it is because you might be asking yourself the question, why is this video so long? Is this gonna be like the Bible for the new Formula car? No, it's not, and I don't know how we came here, but here we are. And because I'm lazy, I'm just going to create a little guide so you can jump to the more important parts of the video. First of all, we will be creating a strat in-game. This is pretty much what you came for, so you can learn here how to do everything from scratch. Then I'll do a driving demonstration and a couple of tips. It's not really recommended. If you don't wanna see that, it's alright. But there's a section in that part of the video that talks about how this thing will display the information of the battery, and I advise to see that. I will mark everything on the timestamps of the video, and at the end there's a summary, an overview of everything, of the theory, and it's more neatly presented. So I also recommend seeing that section, especially if you didn't see the middle one. Then you might be wanting to check the end, and that's pretty much it. I don't want to waste more of your time, so let's start the video. Okay, let's go. Hello everyone, and welcome to this tutorial for Assetto Corsa. Today we are looking at the brand new Formula Alpha 2024 by VRC, and this is a tutorial regarding the energy system of the car. This is a very complicated car, it's very detailed, and it's amazing, to be fair. It has a manual, so you may want to read it first so you know pretty much everything about the car, so you can do changes to the setup and the systems and know what the different things on the display mean of the car. But we are focusing only at the deployment strats. It is not a full tutorial of every single setting regarding the energy, because there are some settings regarding the regeneration that are a bit complicated to explain and I don't fully understand, so I'll be skipping them. But I will be teaching you how to use the deployment strats, how to use them to your advantage on different situations, and how to do your own strat from scratch. So let's get started. I'll make this bigger, and here is a second setup tab for all of the new settings that this car has. And we're focusing on this deployment strat page, which has a track map. This track map is a graph of various things. First, you have the DRS zones highlighted by these green stripes that run parallel to the track. Then you have the DRS detection zones, because first I thought this was the lines for the sectors, but they're not. These are the detection zones for the DRS zones. So this is the detection zone for DRS zone 2, and this is the detection for DRS zone 1. And then you have different colors for deployment. On the white parts, you are not using energy, you are regenerating energy. At the blue parts, you are using the MGUK, and at the red parts, you are using both the MGUK that spins the wheels because it's a motor connected to the drive shaft and it makes the wheels have more power, and you are also using the MUH, which is at the turbo shaft, and it's making it spin. It's pulling the turbo, so the engine will do more boost and have more power. So with this, you can understand where you are deploying your energy and how. This is a map that is automatically generated by the game. Every time you open it and load a session, the game will do it for you. But I will be teaching you how to do your own. So how can you do your own? Well, first of all, we are separated by 8 strats. You can select each one of them here. The game, when it generates them, you can see that the first one is the one that uses the most energy, so it's the most demanding one, and the last one doesn't use a lot of energy, so this is more like for recovering situations. And this is maybe for balance situations, and this is for hot lapping, qualifying, or if you are trying to get the fastest lap. Then we have at the bottom, we have different controls of how the split works. Well, I'm gonna have a quick look at this because there are quick controls that you can use to copy the strats. So for example, let's see that Strat 8 doesn't use a lot of energy. So if I want to copy Strat 1 and put it on Strat 8, I'll do this and it will change Strat 8 to be like Strat 1. I can paste that to every single one of the states. So if, for example, let's see, it's Strat 5, it looks like this, but if I right click it, every single Strat will be like Strat 1, because maybe you can do a baseline first and you can copy that and you can paste it to every single of the Strat, so you can start from there and then tweak the deployment. And after that, if you want to have a clear canvas, you can click the Strat. So I will clear this one, and it will only clear this one with left click and it's blank. The others are not. But if I right click this button, it will clear all of them. If I messed up and I want to regenerate the automatic deployment strats, I can left click to reset strat 1, or I can right click to reset every single one of them so they are again like the computer made them at the start of the session. But let's clear them all. I want you to take a look at how you can make your own strat, because it's very important to have control over this if you want to be really quick and get the most out of the car, because the default strats are kind of okay, but at most scenarios you will find that it's maybe not optimum and you want to change how it works. So first you have to take a look at the splits. The splits are sections of the track that you can divide by yourself, and you can dictate how much energy you will use. Every single split has a starting position, a length of the MUK boost, and a length of the electric boost turbo. That is the red part. The MUK is the blue one, and the position changes where you are putting that split bar. So for example, at 0 meters, this will start from the finish straight, as you can see, like this, and I can move it across all of the track. Sorry, this wasn't it. I can move it across all of the track. So if I want to use this split at the end of the track, at the back straight, I can put it like this. I can shorten it or make it longer, and it looks like this. And because, for example, this is one very important straight, I can use the electric boost at the exit of the corner before to gain more speed and be quicker. But keep in mind that the red part consumes a lot of energy, so you only want to use it at the beginning of the straights and not that much at the end. If it's a short straight, I don't recommend using the red boost. If it's a long one, and especially if it has DRS, then you might find yourself using it there. Next, you can do another split and you can put them wherever you want. I recommend putting them in order, so I'll just put it at the start. So I'll just put it like this because we're still missing this part of deployment, which will be the last split. I'm going to make this a little long until the end of the track. And for example, I can do split 2. I'll just move it like this. I'll put it at turn 3, for example, and maybe I'll put split 3 at this part of the track, so between turn 4 and 5. And I can do this for every single split that I make. For example, I put it this way and I put it here, and I'll do split 5 now and put it at the middle of the track here for this little bit uphill. And now I'll do this, but for this other part, so for the long straight. Now we'll put a bit of boost because I want to be really fast there. Next, split 7, and I'm going to be putting this at the hairpin. So let's drag it here, and there it is. And I'll put a bit more, split 8. I'll put it after the other kind of hairpin, and I'll be changing it to here. It's gonna be shorter. And then my split number 9, maybe I don't want to use maybe energy on the chicane, it's all right. Well, then I'll use it at the exit of the chicane. So keep in mind that the maximum length for deploy is from your starting point to the finish of the lap. So it won't let me do any longer than this. So you just keep that in mind. And now I maybe want to use more energy here. Another thing that is very important is taking into account that by the rules of the Formula One cars, which is also replicated in this mode, is that you have a limit of energy that you can deploy and that you can regenerate during a lap. The number is 4 megajoules of deploy of energy for the electric motors and 2 megajoules for regenerating. So the maximum energy you can deploy is 4 megajoules, which we are very close of. And if you want to recover energy at the end of the lap, well, then you will have to keep this maybe under 2 megajoules. Or if you want to keep it balanced, if you are harvesting 2 megajoules over the whole lap, then you want to keep this at 2, so your body will stay the same from the beginning to the end of the lap. Or if you want to save, then you want to keep this lower, because this is the sum of the MGUK of all of the blue segments and the red segments, and this is the potential, an estimate of how much energy you will use overall during a lap during this strat map. So now I will load another setup that I made before, which has different deployment settings. For example, I have strat map 1, which aims to be like the quickest strat to use as much energy as I can. And strat 8 will be the one to use at least energy as I can. But for example, this is not really well optimized. So what can I do to optimize better? Well, I'll show you with another setup. So I'll load this one. This is strat 8 for another setup. And look, I'm using really little energy right here. So for example, I'm using a bit at the half of the straight. I'm using maybe a bit here. I'm not using really much in here. And I'm using a bit more during the straight. You can change it to find the balance between saving and between going fast. Maybe I'm not using it more the optimal way. So I don't know, maybe I could use less here, and I could use maybe not at all here, and I can use a bit more down the straight to give me a bit more speed. And maybe I can use less on the lap. So you pretty much have to understand how to use it to your advantage to save the battery. For example, here I'm saving the battery, and I have strat map 1 that makes me quicker. But if I use, for example, strat map 5, this is a very interesting scenario, because if you see, I'm not really using energy at the corners, but I'm using lots of the straights. So this is a scenario that you could take for using when you are defending of a car. So you don't need to be that quick on the corners, because it's not easy to overtake there. But on the straights, especially if your opponent has DRS behind, you want to maximize your top speed, so you are pulling away in those scenarios. So you use a lot of battery. You can save it maybe a bit more at the end of the straights, but you want to be really quick, especially in this part that your opponent will have the advantage of slipstream and the DRS. So that's what you want to keep in mind. And you also want to check the consumption of energy to see how much energy you are using, and to have that in mind during the race, because you don't want to run out of battery and be slow, because you have to regenerate all of that. So now I will load one of these setups into a test drive session, so we can pretty much take a look at how they influence lap time and how it looks when you are using them, and a bit more tips of how to use the energy on while driving.
All right. Now we are in the car, part on the quality drop on the microphone, and we have loaded our setup, and we can see that strategy 1 is for maximum pace. We should be able to be using all of the energy that we can use per lap. Strategy 5 is for a situation that we are defending on the straights but not using that much energy overall. And strat 8 is a strat that we're using to try to still deploy energy but find a compromise and not using that much energy. So it's more of a regen strat. So now that everything is done, let's go out for a for a drive. Let me just clear this. I'll start the car, put the steering wheel on with the ignition, then turn it on with the overtake button. It's beautiful. And well, I'll turn off the engine because so I can speak better. I want to take you a look at the extended controls. And there are some controls that we are going to look at, which are the power unit. We can change the power unit modes because we have different power unit modes which change both the regeneration of the engine, also they change a bit of the deployment, and they change the maximum pressure of the turbo. And I don't remember if that's pretty much it, but I have buttons to change that. Also the engine maps, well, not the engine maps, sorry, but the strats, which are like on the deployment on the Assetto Corsa content manager. So this is mapped, but it doesn't show here because if I map them here, they're going to do like a double input, but I have them map on my wheel. Then the ERS overtake, which is essential to start the car, and to be fast. If you want to overtake, then you press that button and you are going to be faster on the straight. So you want to keep that mapped. And then there's a pretty interesting setup change, which is ERS anti. When I press the button here on my wheel, I will be able to cancel all of the deployment, and this will force to regenerate energy. For example, if you are under a situation that you want to recover energy but don't want to switch to recharge mode, recharge mode you are only going to use maybe on your outlaps and inlaps and maybe safety car periods. If you are on a league racing and it has safety cars, you can use, if you are not in those scenarios, you can use ERS anti maybe at the end of a straight or in whatever scenario you can to recover more energy manually. And it's pretty much it. I have other settings, but they are not really related to this. So let's again, I'll turn the ignition on, I'll turn the engine on, and now I'm ready to go for a drive. So for example, if you are at the start of a lap and you are in qualifying, I suggest that you put mode 1, which you can see, and it's recharge. The car will not be using energy at all, and you will be recharging it. If you do that during the whole course of the lap, well, the battery will be fully charged by the moment that you start driving the whole lap. Now, there's mode 2 that you could use in qualifying that gives you the maximum power of the engine. Then you have restart, which is good for doing burnouts, so you can hit the rear tires. Then the mode 4, which is meant for using on the start of a race. Then you have mode 5, which is the least power race mode. Then race minus, the race normal, race plus, and race plus plus, which is the maximum mode for a race. And then you go back to recharge. Now, if you are on a loud lap, maybe you want to hit your tires, you can change the dash page so you see the temperature here. And well, I'll finish my out lap. Now, for example, I can select the Strat. I'll select, for example, Strat 8, for example, which is a good energy for recovering. Then I'll switch to Strat 1. And what I want you to look at is that when you are using the overtake button, sorry, I messed up. When you are using the overtake button, if you see at the sides of the screen, these two LEDs will turn on. This means I'm in overtake button. When I press the ERS anti, which is this button, these two lights become red, and this means I'm regenerating energy. Now, when I'm at mode 1, for example, which is the one that uses the most energy, when I'm at a zone that I designated to be a full deployment zone, like the next part, like this one after the chicane, as you can see, the blue lights were on during the segment that I was using VRS. For example, I'm at map 1, which should be the quickest map of all. Because it's the one that uses most energy throughout the lap. And you can see that once I get to the parts of the lap that I enable to use the red mode, the full boost, the LED turns blue, and I get the full power. So another very important part that I forgot to explain right now is that using the dash.
If you pay attention to this dashboard screen, you can see that there are two very important bars. The first one in yellow is the battery charge, or the state of charge, or the battery percent. This will tell you how much energy you have in the battery. But the second one is very important, the one that is in white at the corner of the screen, and it means the energy that is available on this lap. So every time you cross the line, it will reset and go back to full. This one is split into two sections, because if you remember, you have a maximum of deployment of 4 megajoules per lap, and you have a a maximum of recovery of the energy that is 2 megajoules per lap, and that 2 megajoules is half of the 4 megajoules that you can deploy. So if you split the deployment into two sections of 2 megajoules each, that means that you can quickly see that if you end up your lap above the middle of the energy remaining, this will mean that you used less than 2 megajoules that lap, and that you will most likely be saving battery and recharging it. But on the other hand, if you finish the lap with less energy than the middle of the bar, you will have used more energy than the one that you recovered, and thus you will be losing and discharging the battery by every lap this happens. I'm riding the old layout of Barcelona because, I don't know, I find it good for testing. I put it in whatever track you like. As you can see, I'm using more energy, but I'm not quite reaching the limit. It's per lap, so maybe there's a bit more deploy, or maybe the car is using less energy than predicted, so maybe I'm not nearing the 4 megajoule limit. Oh crap, I spun, alright. So as I go back, in this case I'm going to put map 8, which is my Regen mode. And now on the next lap, you'll be able to see that I'm not using as much energy. I'm in fact slower, my top speed is slower in this way because I'm using less. Because I'm harvesting more towards the end. Here I'm not really using lots of energy, so my top speed is lower. But you will see that by the end of the lap, the level of the battery should increase when I compare it when I started the lap. Oh, you can stop that. I didn't even reach 8 gear then, and I was on VRS. In the last lap I could use 8 gear, despite everything, because I was using full power. So this for race scenario is actually good, because I'm able to harvest, and look, my battery is almost full now because I wasn't mode recharging. Now, at the end of next lap, at the final sector, I will switch to Strat 5, which if you remember is our strategy for defending. So, well, I'll cut the video because there was a little mistake. Maybe I'm gonna drive I'm gonna lose my drive at Red Bull, so let's pretend this didn't happen. So now I'm mid battery. Let's put engine mode 5. It was our mode, sorry, a Strat 5, which is
good for getting good top speed. You know, we are getting good top speed at the exits, at the main straight, but we won't be using that much energy during the rest of the lap. We are still not recovering because net, but when you do all of the sum of the energy that you are using and the use of track the energy that you are generating is still more than you are using, so the number is gonna be lower at the end of the lap. But it's a good scenario for managing your battery without using that much and having the edge on corners like this, and especially the exit, because we are still using the boost to give ourselves the edge, but we are not using that much on these corners, which really are not really a dangerous part of that we're on the risk of getting overtaken. We're still getting good top speed, especially compared like to the saving setup. We're reaching 330 and we were reaching maybe 320 with the low energy setup, but we are not using that much energy here. We are just saving that for the straights, and that can help you defend, especially the quick acceleration out of the corner. That's key to defending from another car. So you can change that. You can, I don't know, study a scenario that you are likely to find on a race, so you are prepared and you know which map to use for that specific scenario, and that could give you the edge, and that could be a position. So look, we are still regenerating after all. Oh crap. And well, that's it. That's pretty much what I wanted to prove.
So, before we're done, let's get a quick overview of everything we've learned. First of all, we already know how to do different strats. We know how to place the different splits and how to change the length and how to put more different types of deploy, like the normal MUK or the full boost with the turbo. Also, we know a bit of theory of how to extract more performance in different situations. If you are chasing for the most pace you can do, like for example in qualifying, you aim to use all of the energy that you can, all of the available energy on that lap, you want to use it. The maximum is 4 megajoules. You want to use the full boost at the beginning on the important straights because that is where it is most worth it. If there isn't a long straight, you will not be able to carry that top speed that much, so it will not be that important. So you want to focus on those long straights, and you want to have like the graph on the steering wheel, the bar of the available energy. You want, at the end of the lap, you pretty much want to be looking at what is on screen. That is pretty much that you used all of the battery. Try to not run out of battery or the available charge before you end the lap, but try to use it all. Next, if you want to harvest energy to recover during a race, you need to aim to use less than 2 megajoules per lap. So it is using less than 1 blue block. You also should try to avoid the full boost. If possible, you have to focus on only deploying energy in pretty much the long straights, maybe a bit of the corners, but try to use it on the long straights because it's pretty much where you need the power the most. And also don't use energy for longer than 3/4 of the straight length. Maybe use it at half, because if you didn't know, drag on a formula on every car, the drag is not increasing, multiplying linearly by the speed, but it increases quadratically. So the amount of power you need to accelerate 1 kilometer per hour faster when you are going 300 kilometers per hour is a lot more power than you need to accelerate 1 kilometer per hour if you are going just at, let's say, 100. So at the faster you're going, the harder it is to accelerate. So that's why you focus on using the energy more on the first part to make you accelerate quicker. And once you're up to a good top speed, you don't need to really use that much, because you can gain maybe a few fractions of a second, but it's not worth it because you are going to use so much more battery, and you want to harvest. You want the bar to look like this, that at the end of the lap you want to keep it above the middle, so you are gaining battery to charge. The more it is above, the more you are recharging, so the better it is. Now if you're defending, you try to focus on deploying lots of energy, as much energy as you can at the start of the long straights. This will make you accelerate quicker and pull from the cars behind, especially if you have an opponent behind that has DRS. You need to focus on getting as much top speed as you can, so that will help you to defend down the straights. And try to save energy on the corners, because on the corners it's less likely that somebody will overtake you. So try not to use that much there, and focus only on the straights. And analyze your situation. Depending on how far the car is behind or how close, you might need to use more or less battery. Try not to use too much so you don't run out of battery quickly, and you can hold him back more laps. But if he's very close, then you might be wanting to use as much energy as you can if you want to desperately defend and hold on to that position. Next, during normal racing situations, you want to keep the used energy pretty much at the middle of the bar. If you want to save a bit, well, you can use a low deploy, which will look something like the left image, which is above the line. If you are in a medium deploy, it will be pretty much balanced, so you pretty much use as much energy as you are recovering, so it's balanced. At the end of the lap, the battery doesn't discharge or doesn't gain charge. And if you're using maybe a bit more energy to gain a bit more pace, then it will look something like the right, which is under the middle, but it's still very close to it. So you're not using that much energy. It's pretty much balanced, and you want to keep it pretty much like this and most of the race, unless you are chasing somebody and you want to get pace, or unless you are regenerating and you want to get more charge, or that you are defending or overtaking. Now another thing that is important for you to know is that you can use the mode 1, which is recharge, which is like a extreme recharge mode for getting battery. You only kind of want to use it during the qualifying or practice, when you are like doing an outlap, or maybe when you're doing your in lap or cool down laps, like between fast laps, so you ensure that the battery is fully charged. And on the race, you pretty much only want to use it on formation laps and on safety cars. It will make you go slow, so I don't recommend using it during the race. But for that scenario, we have the anti-ERS, which is just a button that you can map, and it will, while it's active, that you can see it on the red LEDs on that part of the steering wheel, you will use it to cut the deploy manually. It's, as I say, it's better suited for situations where you don't wanna use much, you don't wanna lose more pace but still want to recover, so you can use it maybe at the end of the straights if you need extra recovery, or if you don't wanna switch at the strat, well, you can do that with anti-ERS, it's an option. And on the other side, you have the overtake button, which pretty much you should be already aware of what it does. It's when it's active, it will allow you the maximum power that the car can give you. It drains the battery really quickly, so just be smart when using it. Don't press it for long periods of time, because you are going to run out of the available battery really quickly. And if you do that, then you will end the lap, or even before the end of the lap, you will not have more energy to spend, so you will be going very slowly and you will get a really bad drive out of the last corner, so you want to avoid that. And that's pretty much it. This is kind of a general guide about everything. It's a bit in depth, but there are still a couple of other things that you can change regarding the regeneration and the other settings on the car. But this is pretty much like the most, like the biggest part of this. So I thank you if you made it to this part of the video. You already have a, in the section before, you have driving examples of all of these. The audio isn't that good because I didn't match the volume, but I hope it's enough to demonstrate how it works. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this helps you, and in the future, if there is anything else that I can do to help you maybe understand some technical things better, if I have the time, maybe I could keep making some kind of tutorials or stuff like this. So yep, bye.
Let's pretend this didn't happen. And now Andy saw. And well, actually, let's use this as a chance. Because I'm on the gravel. I don't know really who's responsible of this feature. If it's this car, or if it's the latest CSP update of, I don't really know what it is, but you can beach your car on the gravel. If you see, right now I'm not beached, but if I go on the gravel and I spin, it behaves weirdly. But if I stop the car, and eventually the car is going to get beached, which I don't seem able to get. Look, it was close to getting beached. Just go reverse and right to. No, don't tell me I cannot do that now. Eventually, if you try hard enough, you can beach car. Well, it's probably not gonna happen, so I'll just go back to the treatment. Ha! I beached the car finally. You can see, sorry, I was in neutral. I disengaged the clutch. No drive. I'm stuck now.